all time for another Coffee with Kilroy. Or is it Sanctuary Sunday? Sanctuary! Or could it be another episode of Tales of War? Well, today you get all three. This is the trifecta. You've hit. I typically call or sometimes, or most of the time, call my Coffee with Kilroy segments Beverage in a Book. And again, I think you know what the beverage is. And today, it being Tales of War Day, that is my book. And today's entry, February 4th, is kind of pulls out something that I've covered quite a bit. I've got at least a couple of videos on Churchill, Big Three Struggle for Peace from GMT Games and designed by Mark Herman. Part of it, the Statesman's series, I believe. I've covered this. I'll put links to my coverage of Churchill in the description below, which includes not only an unboxing, but also a exploration and overview and discussion of gameplay a little bit. And I want to thank GMT. I believe they sent me this copy way back when. So I want to thank them for that. But why did I pull out Churchill today of all days? Well, let's get to the reading, shall we? Let's get to the lesson. Is it really a lesson? Anyway, let me get another sip of coffee here. I hope my episodes are not boring to the point of being a lesson. So, but here we go. Let's get to February 4th, which is today, and see what we have in store for us. Let's go in a little bit closer here. You don't necessarily need to see my coffee, but I can put the coffee in frame if that is enticing you at all. By the way, in the comments, not only comment on Tales of War or Churchill or anything else I talk about, but let me know when you watch this. Do you watch I try to film these and put these in the mornings, at least my time, which is consistent with my coffee drinking, but you might watch it at later in the day or evenings or whatever part of the day you find most available. So feel free to put in the comments when you watch it and what you think about Coffee with Kilroy or Sanctuary Sunday or even Tales of War. But enough of that. Let's get to, for February, the Big Three meet at Yalta. So there's the Big Three that's on Churchill there, as you can see right there. And so that really kind of inspired this entry today. 1945, today, Allied leaders Franklin Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin met at Yalta for a week of meetings that would determine the future and structure of post-war Europe. Yalta is in the Ukraine facing the Black Sea. Once a chic resort where czars built summer palaces and Russian nobility flocked because of its beauty and mild climate, now it was battered and forlorn after the depredations of the Nazis and Stalin's deportation of the Tartars. Churchill called it the Riviera of Hades. By the time of the conference, the war in Europe had almost been won. In the east, Russia was crossing the Elbe, while in the west, I might have to move my coffee out of the way a little bit here without spilling it. Americans and British troops were racing for the Rhine. Paris liberated 6 months before. In total, the Allies had about 25,000 tanks and the same number of aircraft against fewer than 4,000 tanks and aircraft that the Nazi Germany still could field. Plans put forth at Tehran, the previous Big Three meeting of December 1943, to split post-war Germany into 4 occupied zones were confirmed at Yalta, and further progress was made in defining the functions of the United Nations. The founding conference of which would be held in San Francisco only 2 months later. Trials for major war criminals were agreed, and the subject of Germans' reparations was assigned to a commission when it became clear that Russia was determined to beggar Germany, stripping it bare of all heavy industry, including the steel, electrical power, and chemical industries. As a sop to Roosevelt, Stalin promised to center the war against Japan. The most contentious questions was Eastern Europe, where Stalin was determined to establish Soviet satellites in direct contradiction to Roosevelt's and Churchill's visions of a free democratic states. When Churchill pointed out, we have two parties in England, Stalin replied, one is much better. To proposals that Allied observers should monitor elections, Russian Foreign Minister Molotov protested that it would be insulting to self-respect and sovereignty of the newly liberated countries. Poland was a particularly acrimonious issue, especially for Churchill, whose country had gone to war to defend Poland independence in 1939. Stalin insisted that communist-backed Lubin government should run the country, while Roosevelt and Churchill demanded that members of Poland's London government in exile be included in the free elections to be held. Eventually, Stalin agreed to British-American demands for the reestablishment of interim government authorities in Eastern Europe, broadly representative of the democratic elements in the population, and free election of governments responsive to the will of the people. And so on 11th February, the three leaders headed home, Churchill and Roosevelt hoping for the best, Stalin planning for the worst. 2 months later, the exhausted Roosevelt died of a stroke. In May, Germany capitulated after Hitler's suicide. That's on April 30th. We got a little teaser. Maybe I need to do something for April 30th. Ooh, I just have the game or games for that. And in August, after the destruction and shock of 2 atom bombs, Japan surrendered unconditionally. And now Stalin broke all the promises he had made. There would be no free elections in Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Romania, or Bulgaria. Russia would set up puppet communist governments that would suppress other parties and rule by force. Backed by the Soviet tanks, as Churchill so memorially stated the following year, from Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. The Cold War had begun. And for bonus points, for if any of you know where that Iron Curtain speech was presented, anybody? Put it in the comments. Anyway, when the Yalta agreements were made public in 1946, the American right reacted with fury, aimed equally at pediferous Russia and Roosevelt, who they claimed, debilitated by his final illness, had given away Eastern Europe. The idea of Roosevelt's giving away Eastern Europe was, of course, patently absurd. At the time of the Yalta, Russia troops had already occupied most of Eastern Europe, including virtually all of Poland and parts of Germany. The only way to evict them would have been by force, something the American and British never contemplated. Well, not all Americans did contemplate. Anyway, that's another story, and would almost certainly not have achieved. Always suspicious of Stalin, even before the conference, Churchill had wondered whether the end of this war may prove to be more disappointing than was the last. And only a month after the conference closed, when Russia declared the free Poland ineligible for government, Roosevelt came fully to understand Stalin's duplicity. "We can't do business with Stalin," he said. "He has broken every one of his promises he made at Yalta." When challenged on Yalta's outcome, he answered, "I didn't say the result was good. I said it was the best I could do." Although Stalin died in 1953, there's an interesting movie on that, kind of a black comedy I would recommend. The execrable system he instituted kept millions in totalitarian oppression until the collapse of the communist system 44 years later, after the deceit at Yalta. So why did I read that today? Well, that's an interesting conference, and there was a series of conferences that the Big Three had, and Yalta was really kind of the one that shaped the Cold War, or gave birth to the Cold War and the seeds of the Cold War. Which, let me have some coffee here to heat up my Cold War talk. So the very important conference, and the reason I pulled this game out is because this game, although it has war game aspects to it, there's really kind of two sides to this game. Again, I'll point you to my videos in the description of this game. Take a look at those if you want to get a little bit deeper dive into this game. But this game is basically 1 part war, 2 parts political, right? We're mixing drinks now, as well as metaphors. So the political side of this, there's a track where the 3 big powers, the big 3, are trying to trying to accomplish certain proposals or put certain potential propositions forward that will help them on the war track. Again, there's a political side and a military side. And the military side is very high level and somewhat abstracted, or very abstracted, I guess I should say. But the political is all about card play and uses historical representatives and politicians and leaders to do the bidding of the big 3. And there are cards in here that are kind of trigger cards, which are the conferences, and Yalta is one of them in this game. So really, to me, that February 4th Yalta conference is, to me, the game that, if you want to understand some of the import of that and all the things that led up to that, this might be a game you might want to take a look at. I got 2 mites in there, so does 2 mites make right? Anyway, there you have it. That is my reading for the day on Tales of War, my recommendation for a game to back up or support that reading. And I'd love to know your thoughts on this game, on the Yalta Conference, or the beginning of the Cold War. It's all fair game. Just keep it civil is all I ask. Love to see a discussion on this, because I found this to be, to me, a very interesting reading today. Anyway, thanks all for stopping by, and I hope you're having a good one. I hope you're having a good cup of coffee, tea, milk, whatever beverage suits your fancy. And I want to thank you for stopping by. Take care.
No soldiers! Sanctuary!
Thanks for watching.